Okay, looks like we're live. We're gonna wait on a few people to get in there. We've got just a couple minutes. There's a couple people waiting. Thanks for being here. Sorry about rescheduling. I'm glad I did. Uh, Everybody has different internet service providers. We have Spectrum, and normally our Spectrum is very good. And I realize that's a hot button topic because it kind of depends on the area and where you live as to whether or not your service provider is, always great. And, that can be a challenging thing that goes on. But they did warn us for a week that they were going to do a scheduled maintenance in there from midnight till 6 a.m. in the morning. And we pay attention to that because my wife works remote for a major hospital. She's an RN in computers, and they have to VPN access in, so their internet's very important. But anyway, sorry we had to, postpone it, but I'm glad we did because we indeed were down at the time we were going to do it at 7, so that worked out good. This is, if you came here thinking this was going to be some magic A minor pentatonic, I ain't got no magic. I have things that I hope will enhance, give you some aha moments with a scale. I told you what we were going to do. This is my fret-like guitar. That's the A minor pentatonic that everybody is taught right there, starting on the 5th fret. That's positions 1. And remember, penta stands for 5. There's 5 notes. Now, what I always hope to do is to give you some aha moments. I'm not going to reinvent the wheel. Part of this video is going to be showing you things that you can do. I don't push music theory, but I don't disdain music theory either. I try, and my hope is that my subscribers aren't scared of music theory. And music theory is not for everybody, but we're all exposed to it to a certain degree. Like I've said very often, maybe you just don't know the terminology. Maybe any number of things. Human nature can often, if we don't know something, we figure out ways to justify the fact that we don't know it. And they could be rational justifications. Our work schedule could prevent us from spending the time with the guitar that we want. Our attitude toward the guitar. We may not want to learn scales. We may not care about ever learning scales. You may hear me say, well, you kind of are using music theory. You've memorized a pattern. Well, yeah, music theory has patterns. It has a bunch of different patterns, but the idea is to demystify the Ionian, the Fijian, the Lacrodian scales. That they're just a name for something, but we get so much from scales. Now, the A minor pentatonic is often heavily debated as the only scale you're ever going to need. And it's a great scale. It really is a great scale. It is not the first scale I teach. And I think part of what I'm going to show you tonight, you'll realize why. Does that mean you should quit learning it? No. By all means, keep learning it. I would like to take you beyond. There are so many internet resources about the A minor, let's move that light out of the way, pentatonic scale. And they'll sit there and, they'll say 6 top string. They'll use any number of terminology, and they'll say 6 string 5th fret. And then we're going to jump to the 8th fret. Then we're going to drop down to the 5th string, 5th fret. Then we're going to go 7. And then we're going to drop down to the 4th string. We're going to go 5th fret. And then they keep calling this out, and it becomes what it becomes is a 5, 5, 8, 5, 7, 5, 7, 5, 7, 5, 8, 5, 8. And you've learned it by frets, and that's okay. There's nothing in the world wrong with that, nothing. But what is also going on is a scale. And a scale is a series of notes where every note is defined, not just by the note, alphabetical note, like you see up here, A, C, D, E, G, A, C, D, E, G, A, C. I mean, that's it. So knowing the notes, if you know the notes on the guitar, you can find the scale in other places. But what you memorize most likely is the pattern. Now, that pattern has a set of intervals, which are steps, a distance between notes. In Europe, they call it a semitone. And you can get into all kind of names and debates with theory, and I don't play that game. I do not play that game. Am I a scale expert? I am not. I am not going to give you the secret to scales. I'm hoping to give you some enhancements. Have you ever read a book and you were invested? Everybody told you it was a great book. You spent $35 on the book. That's a lot of money for a book, especially in today's day of Kindle age. And so you start reading a book, and right off the bat, you're like, oh my gosh, what have I gotten into? I don't even understand what they're talking about. Well, I've talked about that. I've talked about using Google, define this, a dictionary, take the time. And I realize we don't always have the time. But anyway, back to this book, because I'm going to apply it to learning this scale. So you've invested yourself heavily in this book. You want to quit, but you push on. You just push on. You spent $35, you knuckle down, and you push on. Now, that's a big deal in today's fast-paced drive-through window, hurry up, I want it now, impatience, don't have time, can't sit in a light and just have my thoughts, I got to be doing something, blah, 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 blah. I probably just ticked off half the world right there. But we've all been there. But so you got this book and you decide to knuckle down and to press on. You finally get to chapter 2. It gets a little lighthearted, but you're still mad that the author threw all this crap out in the first sentence, the first paragraph, the first few pages of the book, and you didn't know what the heck he was talking about. And then you're mad because you got to go get a dictionary and look it up if you're even going to take the time to do that. So you press on a little more. Then you get to the end of the second chapter and you can tell it's fixing to go to the next chapter. And finally, he makes a reference to what it was you didn't know at the beginning of the book, and you have a light bulb, an aha moment. Well, doggone, if she'd have just told me that to start with, I'd have been fine. These are the things that I hope to fill in the gaps about scales. When you do learn, if you learn that shape, that's fine. There are so many places on the internet, and I'm going to show you some resources to actually learn the A minor pentatonic scale. The penta stands for 5. There are 5 notes. So that's it. Here's the notes. A, C, D, E, G. The next note returns to the root note. Look up root and look up tonic. They're similar, but they're different. But they're in scale nomenclature and vocabulary. Now, if you probably learned, this. walk it all the way down, you walk it back. But there's other places this scale exists. If you learn to do the 5 notes, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Well, if you look on my guitar here, you'll see there's another A. You started at A. You went A, C, D, E, G. Well, there's your next A. But what's this? We can move this scale and use the same pattern or intervals or the way the scale breaks down in intervals. Whole step, whole step. All scales are different. And that's okay. You learn them. It's just like learning the alphabet or the multiplication tables. Here's why it becomes important. If you know that the A minor pentatonic starts with A, it's got 5 notes, A, C, D, E, G, A. You can take that A and do that pattern again. A, C, D, E. But did you know that to get that, you got to break the pattern down here on the 2nd string? G. Let me do that again. Watch. A, C, D, E, G. Why do you have to do that? Because of that good old 2nd and 3rd string, that B string and that G string, which has a ton to do with the reason that on the 5th fret, when we are tuning a guitar, when you tune a guitar, you are tuning octaves. The open string is the high E, the 1st string. The next string, if you press that note, you've heard people tune a guitar like this too. They're calling it relative tuning. They're tuning the guitar to their self. Stay with me. This is why understanding that the A minor pentatonic is more than just, 5, 8, 5, 7, 5, 7, 5, 7, 5, 8, 5, 8. It's so much more than that. So anyway, this is how you hear them tune without a tuner. Then they have to jump over here 1 fret back on the 4th fret. And then they come back up and they do the rest of it. You are just tuning octaves. This by itself, as you were taught, is E. Remember, elephants and donkeys grow big ears. Eddie ate dynamite. Goodbye, Eddie. And all that. There's so many. I've talked about this so many times. 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. E, A, D, G, B, E. Notes matter. You may not think they matter. You may think I don't need notes. I need patterns. Well, that's fine. But recognize the patterns and know there are notes, and then know why it might be to your advantage to know that. Because remember when we told you to learn the notes starting with the open string E, and then you have F, G, A, B. There's that little half step, C, D, E. And you always return at the 12th fret with the harmonic. Well, if you can play this A minor pentatonic, all you got to do here is, that was A. There was your A note right there. See it? 5th fret, 6th string. That was your A note. That's the reason it's called an A minor pentatonic. Well, this is a G on the 3rd fret, 6th string. Do the same thing. You just played the G minor pentatonic, all because you know where the G note is. Well, if the A note's here, there's the B, there's the C. You can do the same thing there. And you can play this all up and down the fret. Now, the notes will change with the A minor pentatonic, but the interval and the positioning and the pattern will remain the same. And that pattern has names, and for instance, let's go to my handy. You've seen me talk about this. Let's go to our Hal Leonard Pocket Music Theory book that you can get in an ebook. And you can go to the index in the back and you can look up Pentatonic Scale. And then you can come right here. It's got minor pentatonic scale. And you may not be able to see this, but you can see it even names the notes. So let's read what it said. Well, first of all, let's read what a pentatonic scale is. We know it's 5 notes. Pentatonic scales are perhaps the most widely used scales in music. That's the reason so many people teach it. But I still teach a C major scale and then a G major scale first. And I hope as we go into this, you're going to see why. But don't abandon the A minor pentatonic you've learned. Stay with it. Just learn a little more if you want it. If you want, everything is if you want. The pentatonic scale is found in the music of most ancient cultures. Today, they are used in musical styles ranging from blues and rock to jazz and classical. The term pentatonic describes the number of tones in the scale. Penta means 5, and tonic refers to tones. Remember I told you when you look at scale charts, you're going to see an R, which is a root, or you may see a T for a tonic. Just hold that thought. Okay, therefore, pentatonic scale contains 5 tones as opposed to diatonic scales, which contain all 7 tones of the musical alphabet. What's the musical alphabet? A, B, C, D, E, F, G. Repeat. A, B, C, D, E, F, G. Count them up. A, B, C, D, E, F, G. There's 7. And what did he just call that? Diatonic scales. So you just learned something new. You got part of this mystification of these, music theory just got demystified, as more and more of it will as you expose yourself to it. So anyway, we're almost done. One more sentence. Although they contain fewer notes, the 2 pentatonic scales in common use, two of them in common use, still reflect the major and minor qualities of their diatonic 7 notes counterparts. Diatonic, all 7 notes of the musical alphabet. And remember, we had that number 12, and I talked about where does that come in? Well, that's just filling out all the notes in Western music. There's even more theory to that. Just hang with it. Don't. Every bit you take in teaches you something. You've already been shown that if you know the A minor pentatonic, you can just slide down from A back toward the headstock to G, and now you know the G minor pentatonic. You just follow the same pattern. You can go the other way with it. But you've also been told, unlike the major scale that is always whole notes, the notes change. But that pattern doesn't. And that pattern exists, which is, hold on, I'm fixing to get to that. There's a major pentatonic scale and a minor pentatonic scale. And a minor pentatonic scale. So what it says, the major pentatonic scale can be described as a major scale minus the 4th and 7th scale degree, leaving the following notes: 1, 2, 3, 5, and 6. It even shows you where they are on the treble clef. Now, I realize you may not give a rip about that. In 1973, when I learned guitar, we weren't taught tabs. We were given a musical clef line, a staff notebook. So anyway, it says, the major pentatonic scale has a simple, uncluttered sound and solves a problem. What's the purpose of this scale? It solves a problem that the diatonic major scale, what's diatonic again? Those 7 notes. Major scale presents to inexperienced improvisers. That's the reason it's such an important scale to learn for rock, for blues, for jazz. Stay with me now. I'm not going to read the whole thing, but just stay with me if you would. It says that it it solves a problem to an inexperienced improviser. What's an improviser? Somebody trying to improvise, to come up with a lead guitar on their own, to make their own music, make your own kind of music. Okay, the 4th and 7th scale degrees of the major scale being a half step. What's a half step on the guitar? 1 fret. Away from the 3rd and octave, respectively, have strong tendencies to resolve. That is to say, they create tension that needs to be released. I have a video waiting on the shoe to drop. Scales want to be resolved. Not always. Sometimes they want to build that tension. And that tension is a great part of music. Remember, there is no music without silence. If you just sit here, if you hit that one time, all you would hear is the sustain. That's it. It's only when you add rhythm, and rhythm involves a beat of silence. So the dissonance, the tension, resolution, these are what makes music appealing to us. This is why young children are taught do, re, mi, fa, sol, la, ti, do. It's familiar to them. It begs to be completed. Do, re, mi, fa, sol, la, ti. Come on, Dave. Don't leave me hanging. Do. It needs to be resolved. But sometimes you need that tension. Do, re, mi, fa, sol, la, ti, do. That, you could imagine a Kuma Matata where he builds the tension and then releases it. That's what makes music appealing is, when you build that tension and resolve it in a pattern that sounds right. It fits. So anyway, now let's go to the minor pentatonic scale. Look, there's not much more to read, but this is a great pocket music theory. I've talked about it before. When I get through with this, I don't have a moderator. When I get through with this and I edit this and save it as new, I think I finally learned how to do that. I will put links, and I've got a lot of things to show you. I really do. I realize I may not be holding everybody's attention span. I'm sorry. Like I said, this, when I get into one of these, I'm trying to give you aha moments, but it's a guitar talk. It's alive. So anyway, the minor pentatonic scale. The minor pentatonic scale may be described as the diatonic natural minor scale minus the 2nd and 6th degrees. Notes in the scale. That's where you hear this flat 3rd, perfect 4th, perfect 5th. Now, okay, you don't understand that yet, but if you were to dive into scales, now you know what that P4 and that P5, when you look at one of these scale charts, that when you first look at it, you're like, what in the heck are they talking about? What is all this? Well, you see what's going on here. Here's the minor pentatonic. Well, you see root 5, flat 3rd, flat 7, 4 root. So, and all that. And then you're like, well, whoa, what the heck's going on? Look up, over here, the 5-note scale, root 3, 4, 5, 7. This will all start to mean something to you if you want it to. And I realize maybe you don't care about that. Maybe all you want to do is learn the pentatonic scale and have a few of your guitar buddies show you how to make some jump offs and some licks from it. And that's fine too. It's your guitar journey. I'm just not one of these guys that thinks things are cast in stone. If you want to learn music theory, I will try to give you the aha moments to fill the gaps of what you may be confused about. Okay, it said an ad got inserted. I don't know what that means. I'm supposed to do, but anyway, this does what it does. All right, to finish this up, the minor pentatonic scale may be described as the diatonic natural scale minus the 2nd and 6th degrees, leaving the following notes. first, flat third, fourth, fifth, and flat seventh. In natural minor scales, the fourth and seventh scale degrees are a whole step from the third and octave respectively. So they don't have the same tendency to resolve as these tones do in a major scale. However, the second scale degree, this sounds Greek, but there's a reason for this scale. A half step above the perfect fifth, if handled carelessly, can create the equivalent problem in minor keys. The minor pentatonic scale eliminates these half steps. That's why it's so popular, yet still contains the essence of the minor quality and serves a function equivalent to the major pentatonic, that of a simple, straightforward scale for improvising and composing. So should you abandon the A minor pentatonic, in my view, and go to the C? No, you shouldn't. Now, the reason I teach the C major scale is because it's whole notes. And it's easy to recognize whole notes. You don't have to have the flats and the sharps, all the things in between, which they exist. I've talked about them. I've given snippets of things like that. So anyway, here's your A minor pentatonic. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And then they make you bring it on down. That's the reason they add that, just to finish out all 12 notes in the Western alphabet. So you get A, C, D, E, G. Are you sure about that? Look at the lights. All right, let's do this together. There's A. There's C. There's D. There's E. And there's G. And then what's next? Good old A again, back to where you started. And then it repeats. C, D, E, and then we jump to G, and then AC. So it changes there at the end, and that's part of what it shows here. So that's all you're doing, is carrying out the scale. Now, if you want to throw in a blues scale, remember, before I turn it on, all I'm going to do is turn this into blues. I just added a sixth note. That's it. Instead of jumping, all right, here, I'm gonna play the fret game. 5, 8, 5, 7. Instead of doing that, we do 5, 8, 5, 6, 7, 5. You've thrown in one note and you changed it into the blues scale, which I'm gonna do that right now. Hang on. Give me 1 second. Minor blues. So now let's look at this. So it's pretty much the same thing. Okay, remember, this is the 5th fret. There's that A. There's your jump. And all you're doing is adding in the middle here. That note right there. The rest of it's the same until you get down here and you add an extra note again. So all you're doing, I told you, you can learn the A minor pentatonic and then throw in the A minor blues scale. Boom, that's what you're adding. Boom, boom. It's almost the same, except you're adding this note here, and then you finish it on out and do that 5, 7, 5, 7. You make it down to the 3rd string, 5, 7, and you throw in 8. Do you see that? So what you wind up with is So now you've taken the A minor pentatonic and you've thrown in an A minor blues scale, which gives you more to improvise. If you know what the notes are, and guys and gals, I realize you're probably not going to put notes on the keyboard like I do, even though I have them all different kind of ways. But you can buy a keyboard chart. You can lay this down beside you while you're practicing and look at the notes and see what's going on and figure out, even without holding the guitar, you can figure out, okay, here's a headstock up here. Remember, there's EAD, GBE. So, if we're here on the 5th fret, there, let's just look at this. There's A, there's C, there's D, there's E, there's G, there's A again. And then you keep the scale going. There's C again, D, E. Now you're into a G flat, A, C. So I'm sorry. I should have had that where you can see it. But my point is, you could be practicing your scale and those patterns. This doesn't have to be made out of wood. Like I showed y'all, you can buy. Remember, these were cheap on Amazon. You can buy a neck chart for like $2 or $3 that you can just lay out beside you while you're doing that. So, there are so many resources you can tap into. And let's talk about some of them. You got scale charts. I remember the first time I ever looked at this, I thought, what in the heck is going on? And then it got there and it says all diagrams below are movable. I didn't know what that meant. Well, I just showed you what that meant. If you can play the A minor pentatonic, because it starts here on A, if you slide back here to G, that's a G note. See it? Then you can play that same pattern. Well, you just played the G minor pentatonic. That's why the scale is movable. They're movable. The whole idea of learning scales, that's why they call them positions, forms. All right, let's go back. I've got my fretlight guitar and I've got it hooked to guitar tunes. Let me get it off the minor blues scales and let's go back to the minor pentatonic. Okay, we're in form 1. Now that's start. What's this guitar change? 0 in, find my 5th fret, 0 in, okay? Look it over. 5th fret, 7th fret, 9th, 12th. Look it over. All right, so you're in form 1 of the A minor pentatonic. Let's change it. Now you're in form 2. Did you see how it just slid up the neck? All right, now you're in form 3. Slid a little more. Now you're in form 4. Now you're in form 5 because you ran out. What did it do? It jumped back up here. So where is it? Well, it's right here. All right, now watch. I'm going to blink the root note. Because remember, we're doing A minor pentatonic. So let's go back through these forms again. There's 4. I've got the root note blinking. Notice the root note is an A because this is an A minor. Let's go the other way. There's form 3. So you got a couple root notes blinking. The whole idea is to learn that this scale is all up and down the neck. That's why notes can help you. So let's go to the next one. There's form 2. And we're fixing to come back to form 1, which is going to be that familiar 5th fret. Here, we're going to it right now. Here's what else you can do with the fretlight. You can tell it all. It is now lit up the root note and the A minor pentatonic scale all up and down the fretboard. So let's go back. Now you're on form 1 again. And let's change the note from A to G. Watch it change on 3. 1, 2, 3. There it goes. All right. We went from here because we were right here starting. We were on the 5th fret, but now we're starting on the 3rd fret because we went to the G minor pentatonic, just like I told you. If you know how to play the A, you can play the G. Look at it. It's the same thing. It's just slid down to where it starts on a G note. So you have so many things and resources to learn more about scales. And once you learn more about them, then you can figure out other things. I don't believe in reinventing the wheel. And if you remember, I started out my channel with guitar-worthy sites. Well, this is Anthony Parker. Anthony Keenan Parker. This is one of the books he sells at his website. And for beginners to advanced guitars. And it starts out at a level that it's great for kids. I've used it with my granddaughter. But you can see in chapter 6, he starts about beginning lead guitar scales and patterns. Don't be ashamed to buy a book. And he goes in, there it is. There's that pentatonic scale. And he talks about it. He actually has a course you can buy where he calls it the ultimate, pentatonic workout. Tips for playing your first scale. Let me get this where you can see it. Hand position, connect your fingers. And then here it is over here, the pattern. Well, there it is again. There's the 5th. All right, let's look at this together. So the headstock is up here. Here's the tuning keys would be up here. The body of the guitar is this way. 6th string, 5th, 4th, 3rd, 2nd, 1st. So there you are, 5th fret. Here's that 5 to 8, 5, 7, 5, 7, 5, 7, 5 to 8, 5 to 8. That familiar that we've learned. He even tabs it out for you. So now, remember when I talked about adding the blues in? The only thing I did was 5 to 8, 5, 6, 7. I added one note to get the blues in. And then I added again down here on the 3rd string. So I changed the A minor pentatonic to an A minor blues scale. And from that, you can improvise a lot of blues licks. But you want to improvise. The key word is to improvise. So when you learn that these scales can be played all over the neck, that's when you can really break out of your rut and get somewhere. He breaks down the pattern. And then he goes into hammer-ons and pull-offs. Great resource. Another great resource, I'm going to cover several of them, is Hal Leonard's The Incredible Scale Finder. I'm going to tell you what I like about this. It's not hard to find the A minor pentatonic scale. You can find it all over the internet. What's hard to find are the positions. Now, I've given y'all a brief rundown of positions. Positions are just placements on the neck, although they don't always follow the same pattern. You have about every 3 frets they change. That's an approximate. So you got a position here, position here, position here, a position here, and a position here. So there's really like 5 positions. And then that breaks down into those types of scales. It's a little deeper in this, but that's where you get all this Ionian, Fijian, Lycrodian, Mixolydian, and things like that. It's just terminology. Once it's explained to you, it's demystified. But again, this book, what makes this book so wonderful, it's in musical alphabet. It's just in order. Starts off with the same scale that I do, the C scale. And you can see, watch it move. C, D, the sharps, the flats, F, G. Well, we're here to A. And it's going to have all those positions. So there you go. And then you got the minor pentatonic. And it's got pattern 1, pattern 2, pattern 3, pattern 4, pattern 5, the natural minor, Aeolian, the minor pentatonic down here at the bottom with all the positions, patterns, positions. So, you know, you're always wondering, well, how should I learn this? Isn't there another pattern? Well, here you go. The incredible scale finder. And this is a great tool. And not to mention at the beginning, he gives you an introduction. He talks about those whole steps and half steps. They talk about the major scale, the pentatonic, what each scale is. It shows you the breakdown of those roots. You can see, like right here, the Dorian mode. 1, 2, flat third, 4, 5, 6, flat 7. All this means something. The more you expose yourself to it, the more you'll learn. So that's another great resource. This is one of my favorite, another of our guitar-worthy site, Ricky Comiskey. His YouTube channel has tons of free stuff. He makes his money selling these books, ebooks, and this book off Amazon. And he actually breaks down, and this guy is a master of theory and scales, and he breaks it down in ways that it's just unbelievable. There he is. He's an English fella. Yep. And he's just comical. He's hilarious. He don't put up with no bull, but he explains in ways that is just beautiful. Now, when you get into his book, he breaks it down, and then he will have in here where the lesson, and he has got hundreds of lessons. I'm fixing to show you. He goes into cage systems, exercises, and down at the bottom of every page, lesson 11, lesson 12. And you can go to his website and the playlist, and they're all listed there. So you can be looking. This gives you a breakdown of what to look at. The L7 grid. This is a great little trick on learning to improvise. So I'm not going to reinvent the wheel. If you come to my lives and my videos for some secret chord, it does not exist. Practice. Okay, I realize I probably just what few people are left here live, but most people are going to look at this after. I probably just ran off. Nobody wants to hear it, but yeah, you got to practice. It's that there is no genie that snaps their finger. We are at a time in the world with guitar and music that is one of the most wonderful times in the world and one of the most confusing. It is so easy to suffer from information overload. Even scales baffle me at how they're approached online. But that's okay too. Sometimes all you need is to piecemeal something. You know this, but you don't know that. It's like that book I talked about where, you paid $35 for the book and they started out and you're lost to begin with, but you get to the end of chapter 2, they finally describe what they were talking about at the beginning and you have an aha moment. That's one of the beauties. I've been playing guitar for 52 years and I learn every single day. Every single day. That's part of the beauty of it for me. The guitar is, if you're here on my channel trying to conquer the guitar, I'm wasting your time. I am wasting your time. Let me just tell you, I'm not going to pull punches with you. I am wasting your time. I am here for the never-ending journey of God's blessing of creativity. That is why I'm here. I'm here for the aha moments. I'm here to bridge those gaps that you can go to these great resources when you have time. Man, I remember changing crappy diapers and homeschooling kids while some was in public schools. And we homeschooled kids back when it wasn't popular to homeschool kids, when it wasn't a thing. But we had a dedicated curriculum that I spent a lot of money on. We had a structured day. We had a homeschool group where we had a science lab, a library. We put into it and we got out of it. My kids have gone to college. They've been on the dean's list. I'm proud of them. Is this about homeschool? No. That's the last thing this is about. This is about dedication and practice and learning and a never-ending journey of the guitar. That's what the guitar appeals to me, because I never quit learning. I never quit getting joy from it, even with the frustrations. And gosh, I understand the frustrations. If you look at my other things, you'll know what I went through with my hand problem where I couldn't play. Anyway, look at this. Blues guitar for kids. Well, I wouldn't be called dead with the kids, but well, I would. I buy them all the time. It's part of what I try to do to teach y'all, how to do. But look at this. What is the blues? The hand position. Bass string riff, key of E. Bass string riff, number 7, key of A. They're learning the basis of the blues. They're getting ready for the blues chords, for the 12-bar blues. That for kids. Don't knock kid books. They're a great, valuable resource. Den Lopez, Learning Guitar Secrets. There's so many of them. I'm not going to reinvent the wheel. The Fretlight guitar. I am an authorized Fretlight reseller, and I don't push them. I've been using them for over 20 years. They're a valuable tool. Fretlight.com. We're going to have some member lives where, we're actually going to have it sponsored by that. We'll offer discount codes. Yeah, you can get a discount off what's regularly listed on the website. That's a perk. That's part of when we decided we were going to monetize the channel. After many people asked for ways they could support, the first thing we ask everybody to do is please subscribe, like. That raises the algorithm where we can get to more people. We just gave away a guitar last week, our private Facebook group. We're trying to schedule some free classes for parents where they're going to come and they're going to get to bring their kid and have a lesson on how to buy a guitar. Everything from, is the darn guitar too big for the kid? What is the kid facing? We're going to take the fret lights. I've got a classroom module fret light. We're going to set them down with a guitar. We're going to put an E minor lit up on every single one. We're going to show them a chord. And that parent's going to find out if they're going to spend all this money to start with or not. So I want kids to embrace the creativity of learning and the wonder and joy that guitar can bring. And I want adults to as well. And I hope to help you feel those aha moments. This was not I never intended for this live to be the be-all, catch-all of the A minor pentatonic. Learning to play the A minor pentatonic is all over the internet. What I didn't see over the internet was what else can you do with it? Do you realize that you can just slide from the A up toward the headstock from the 5th fret to the 3rd? Now you're playing the G minor pentatonic. Do you realize what the notes were and how, if you know where the notes are on the guitar, if you have this laying where you can see, even without looking at a book with position 1 and position 2, you'll also learn little things like, hey, the 5th fret, hang on, let's get it again. The 5th fret has all whole notes. You got halves and flats and sharps and flats everywhere else. The 12th fret, the 5th fret, there's several little things you'll learn that give you markers on the guitar fretboard. It's just like when you go out on a trail and you hike, and the Boy Scouts have blazed a trail, they've made markers. where you know what a switchback is and things like that. These are the aha moments that help further your guitar journey. So I hope you enjoyed this. It went a little longer than I anticipated. I'm sorry we had to reschedule. I really am. But had we not rescheduled it, we wouldn't have been able to do it because our internet service provider indeed was working in our big area here. And they're putting in some more fiber optic lines and things like that. So it would have been an issue. We'll have some more lives. I'll turn this into a regular video. I'll put links to these various scale resources in there. So look for that. I'll do a little short or something to let people know when I've done it. I didn't see one person ask a question, and that's fine. It's probably going to be a long time before anybody wants to ask questions or feels comfortable, or I get this live process down. But there's things that we'll continue to learn. I told you we're going to have some lessons in the future about intervals, semitones. I talked a little bit about in Europe, they call the intervals a semitone, and it can, by accidentals, sharps and flats. And I've already got some videos about that. I'm not a structured guitar instructor, but there's plenty of them out there, and I try to highlight them. I don't want to reinvent the wheel. You got Justin Guitar, you got True Fire, you got Learning Guitar Secrets, you've got Dave with Guitar Zero to Hero. There's so many of them. On our community tab, I'm starting to list more and more of the videos that I feel like will help you. I'm not going to reinvent the wheel. I'm here to bridge gaps and hopefully to help you find an aha moment. Thank you so much for being here. We are going to have some structured things each week where, we may start out and the week will be nothing but what can we do with the C chord, including the triads and other things. Another good resource, and there's a bunch of these from the Circle of Fifth Wheels, 4 cards, like this little hand thing, I'll put this out on there too, shows guitar triads. This one has the scales. Kind of, I showed you this big one. This has it in a pocket size where it breaks down. And then it has other resources, mini reference charts, circle of fourth and fifth. There are just so many resources that can help you. They're low cost. There's little things like this. So, hey, I hope your guitar journey is always a blessed guitar journey. Thanks for being here. Most of all, happy picking.